Okay. So we are going to continue with scripting today. We'll start understanding shell scripting. Okay, so let's start with the concepts quickly. So, firstly, we need to today explore the concepts of variables. What all kinds of variables do we have in shell script? How we create a variable, conventions to create variables, correct? All of that we will start understanding it one by one. So let me just read this out quickly. So as people already come from the development background, most of them in my classes, it should be very quick for you to understand. See, whenever you create a variable, guys, the rules to create a variable is variable name can contain letters, numbers, and underscore. They cannot start with a number, which means never start a variable name with a number. I can write down val 1, but one val I cannot write. And avoid using special characters or reserved keywords. Okay, it's telling avoid using, right? Which means certain things will work, certain things will not work. It's not telling that they cannot start, it's telling avoid using it. That's not a good practice. Let's try to create here some variables. So, firstly, I'm going to type here vi and I'll create here a script file called as f1.sh. Fine. I'll hit on enter, insert mode, and let's create one variable. Now, whenever you create a variable here, we use lowercase letters. We don't use uppercase letters for user defined variables. Right now, whatever variable I'm creating are user defined. We'll look at types of variables in a while. But for now, when the variables are created, I'm writing it the name. Or we'll go with our favorite name, Mike. Now, if you observe, when I'm storing the string data here, I'm not using double quotes. I'm not using single quotes. But however, you can also use that. You can use name equals Mike in double quotes. Let's see that one by one. Now, I want to print this. But before that, let's look at simple printing statement. If you want to print something, you can write down echo hello world, which is one very traditional approach that whichever program we start with hello world. I'm not using any double quotes. You know that VI editor, escape mode, colon, save and quit. Now to run this sh f1.sh. See this? The same file, insert mode. Now I'll do one thing. I will use here double quotes. And let's try the same thing. Hello world. Escape colon WQ. Up arrow, run. Is it still printing? Here, whether you give the string in double quotes or you don't give it, it is still working. Let's try one thing now. Let's go here. Let's now put this in. Let us now put this in. Okay, insert mode. Let's put this in single quotes. Let's write here hello world. Okay, escape mode colon WQ. See this here now. If you observe sh f1.sh hello world, which means here whether you write a string in double quotes, single quotes, you write it as it is, doesn't matter. But here there is no, most of the people they don't use single quotes or double quotes to define the string value. They write it as it is. Okay, so we got to know how to print the output. But echo here is case sensitive. Okay, whatever now this reserved keyword echo I'm using it here, this is case sensitive. Suppose I go to insert mode and if I change this to echo, you see that the color of that is black. So that's not a reserved keyword. It has to be in lowercase, which means this reserved keywords that I'm using here happens to be case sensitive. Okay. Now let me create here a variable. Now how do I create a variable? Now to create a variable, I will use here name equals Mike. You can give it in single or double quotes, doesn't matter. Then we will write here echo. And in order to print the name, I cannot just write this. You have to now use a dollar symbol. Whenever you want to print the value of a variable, you have to write dollar and the variable name. Again, see this here. If I now want here, let's say a variable max value, we'll not use your camel casing. We'll use snake casing. Max underscore value. We use an underscore. When there is more than one word, you separate that word using an underscore. Max value equals 100. How do we print this? Echo. How do we print this? Echo dollar. We will write here max underscore value. Correct? Now, whatever variable, let's take here a variable called as average. Average. Can I store here 10.3? And if I want to print this, echo dollar, we will print here average. Now escape colon WQ. Okay, let's see this. Did you understand now that how we created a variable? So basically, there is no data type for a variable here. The data type for a variable here is dynamic type, which means depending on the value that you're storing in it, internally it picks up the data type. That's not our job. Okay. So there is no data type concept that you tend to see here. Just create a variable and store the value whatever you want it to be. If it is Java, we write it like this: int x is equal to 100. Now, whenever you define a data type and create a variable and store the value, we will tell that it is strongly typed programming language. Okay? Which means any other data, if you try to store it in X other than integer value, plus or minus 10, plus or minus 20, you can store, but 20.3 you cannot store. It'll give error. But here it is not like that. It is loosely typed programming language, scripting language, right? Okay, why loosely typed? Because the data types are not given, and in that variable I can store the value, okay, what I want to dynamically. Let's continue further now. So I hope the first part that I wanted to discuss with you is clear. The variable names can contain letters, numbers, underscore. They cannot start with a number, which means if I just go here and if I start this variable, let's go to the insert mode and let me make this variable 2 and let's write here 2. Let's escape colon WQ. Now tell me whether this program will run or it will not run at all. Run. Will it give me some outputs or no outputs? Only error message. You see that? It prints other outputs while the place where there is an error, it gives you error only at that line. Okay? Are you understanding now? Because it is executing it line by line. It is interpreting line by line. It will execute line 1, print the output. Execute line 2, execute line 3. When it goes to line 7, there is an error. Now it prints an error. Got it? But now let's do one thing. Let's try to put an error message here. Insert mode. Okay. Let's type here. Here. Not here. Let's change this now. Will it print the output? Yes or no? Observe. It still basically is giving me what? Correct? So you observe one thing. Let's go here. This one is $2 name. So you observe one thing here. What is happening is, let's say I have an error here now. Let me go to insert mode. Let's delete this and let's write here 2. Escape colon WQ. Okay. Will it print the output? You see that it still prints 100, which means the errors present at any line, the errors that are present at any line is not impacting that line of code which is correct. Right? But in Java, it's not like this. No, if there is an error, the whole program will not run. But here, the scripts are running. 100 it is printing, while you see that at line 1, at line 2, at line 7, okay, there are some problems, but still the line of code which is correct, it happens to continue and print. Okay, I hope this part is clear for all of you, right? So let's go back again now. Let's do one thing. Let's go back here, clear the screen. Let's go to VI editor, and now insert mode, and we will now look at the other things. Okay, what are the other things we will look at? Let's see this here. Okay, so the next thing that I would be talking about is types of variables. Let's see this here now. So just now we saw that how variables are created. The variables cannot start with a number. You saw that whenever I start with a number, there was an error. Avoid using special characters, okay, or reserved keywords. It says avoid it. What do you mean by avoid it? Right? Cannot use those very clear statement. But what do you mean by avoid it? Let's try to see this here. So I will just use your hash. I'll use your hash name is equal to, let me type here Mike, and let me print echo dollar hash name. Correct? So let's understand that very clearly. What does it mean? Right? You see that? It's not giving an error. It's processing it. Got it? So using a special character hash, it doesn't mean it's giving an error. It is converting that special character internally into some value. Right? And it is printing what? 0 name. I did not get there any. That's why avoid using it, it is telling. What is it telling? Avoid using it. Fine. I hope this part is clear, all of you now. Now let's say I'm in insert mode now. Let's say this time I'll use a variable name echo, which is a reserved keyword. Okay. And let me type here Mike. Now let me type here echo dollar echo escape colon WQ. Will you get an error or will it print something? Avoid using it because that might cause confusion. That might end up giving you some other output which is unexpected output. Which means using a variable name with a number cannot be executed. But if you're using a reserved keyword, if you're using a special character, avoid doing that. That will basically either cause you confusion or it will end up giving you some output, which is unexpected by the programmer. Okay? The best practices is the variable name should, okay, do not use it as a reserved keyword like echo, which is already has a predefined meaning. Do not use a special character. Do not start with a number. The second thing we are going to now look at is this. Go back here. Is this clear? All of you people, are you able to understand this? Online students, whatever I'm explaining. Now we are going to look at is the types of variables that we have it in shell script. क्या हो गया भाई ऑनलाइन पीपल स्क्रिप्ट चालू करते ही काम तमाम हो गया क्या नहीं समझ आ रहा है ना ऑनलाइन पीपल yes yes okay so now we are going to look at types of variables in shell script. Now majorly I'm classifying the types of variables into 3 categories: local variables, environment variables, read only variables. Okay, now let's look at local variables. What are local variables? Simple thing. I have 2 script files. I created a variable in script file 1. Will that variable be accessible in the second script file? No. If it is a local variable, the local variable created in the script file 1 cannot be accessed in script file 2. Okay? The second type of variable is environment variable. Environment variables are something, if you create that in script file 1, that variable can be accessed in your child script files. What do you mean by child is? See, in Linux, there is a process called as parent process and child process. There is a concept in Linux operating system called as parent and child. Just like inheritance, what we see in Java. Now, the parent process, when it creates another process, the parent process creates another process, then that another process created is a child process. By default, the script file that I now executed is a parent process. If that script file runs another script file, now I can write a code like this here in scripts. I can create a script file, and that script file can in turn run another script file. If that happens, then the script file which the parent is running, that will become a child process. Okay? So it is something like this if you try to understand here. Now observe. Right now I have one script file, I have another script file. Okay? Now let's assume this script file 1, when I run, the script file 1 will automatically run script file 2. So this will become for me the parent process, and this will become the child process. Now what am I telling is, if it is a local variable, the local variable is accessible only in the parent process. If I want this local variable to be accessed in the child process, it cannot happen. Okay? If you want to access a variable created in parent process to be inherited and accessed in the child process, then you have to make that as a environment variable. Environment variables are something where the variables are accessible in the parent as well as in the child. Point number 1. Point number 2, environment variables are accessible across the sessions. What is sessions? I have VM virtual machine. I'm using git bash connecting with VM. That is one session. I will give the key value pair to this guy. He will connect. That is another session. The key value pair, I will give it to him. He will connect. That is another session. Okay. Now there are 3 sessions established with one VM. Across that session, you can access that environment variable. Are you understanding? In different sessions, that environment variable becomes what? Accessible. I hope this part is clear. All of you? Yes. So see this here now. In this case, we have local variable, environment variable, and read-only variable. Read-only variables are like constants. You create a variable. Once you store a value in it, you cannot alter that variable value. I will start with read-only variable firstly, as that is the simple one. Okay, let's see this here. So now I will go back here to the insert mode, and let's do one thing. I will quickly make this variable as name, but what if I type here read only? You see that now? This is again a reserved keyword. Now I'm using here dollar name. What am I using here? I'm using here dollar name. Now it will print Mike, but again I will initialize this Stalin. Okay, I'm again initializing that variable. I'm initializing that variable to what? Stalin. Observe, giving a space doesn't work. So you need to, we'll talk about that as well. Hold on, we'll take one by one. But firstly, now understand here, name was Mike. I'm changing to Stalin, but I will comment this. To comment in your script file, we use hash. As of now, I'm not going to run that line. Okay, I'm commenting it. So first time when I run this, I'm going to run that directly. sh f1.sh, it prints Mike. Now I'll go back, and now what I will do, insert mode, and let me do one thing. Let me here uncomment this. Now, of course, when I uncomment this now, the variable name cannot be reinitialized because that is read-only variable. So if you want to create a read-only variable in your scripts, if you want to use only read-only variable, that is constants in your scripts, then use this reserved keyword in shell script called as read-only. Okay, everybody got this point, right? Now, let's do one thing. What if I don't do read only? If I remove that read only, what will happen? Insert mode, right? Will it work now? Escape colon WQ. Will it work? Clear everyone? No problem. So let's go back again. Up arrow, V1, and let's now go to insert mode. So now we understood here very clearly that what is read only variable. Now we'll look at local and environment variables, and for which I have one example taken here. Fine. So I'm going to firstly create here one variable called as local variable. And let me write here, I am a local variable for easy understanding. So let's go here to this VI editor. Let me delete all the things. Let me create one variable called as local underscore var. Fine. Local underscore what? Var. And now in this, I'm going to store the value I am local variable. I am local variable. Now, if you want, you can also give this in what? Double quotes. But that doesn't make any sense. I am local variable. You do it, you don't do it, it doesn't matter here. Now, I have one local variable. Whenever you create a user defined local variable, better keep the variable names in lowercase. But when you create an environment variable, we use the keyword export. Export keywords are used in order to create environment variables, basically. Okay? System variables, environment variables. If you want to create, then we will use export. And these environment variables, which I will name that, okay, with env var. So that should be env capital. Whenever you create environment variables, keep that in capital letter. User defined variables, keep it in lowercase. Start using this convention. Underscore, underscore, var. And let me store here, I am what? Environment variable. Now, what I want to do here is I want to check whether this local variable is accessible in the child process or not. Okay. Firstly, let me print here. Echo dollar. What is that? Local underscore var. Fine. And then I'm going to type echo dollar env underscore var. I'm printing it in the same file. Same file. Variable is created in the same script file. I'm printing it in the same script file. There is no problem. It is local. But I need to now access these two variables in a child file. How do I do that now? So in order to do that, in order to now from here run basically a child file, I will use here dot slash and the file name. Okay. So I'll create here another file called as something like this, dot slash, and give the child file name. So what will happen when I run this parent file, automatically the child file will also run. But who is running this child file? Parent file. So this parent file running is a parent process and the child file running will be the child process. So we'll create one child file called as child underscore f1 dot sh. Is this clear everyone now? Now you can also on the top, if you want to write the flavor of scripting that I'm using it, you can do that here by using what? Shabong. What is a shabong? Huh? Hash, exclamation, slash, bin. What is that? See this here? Slash, bin, slash, bash. Okay, slash bin, slash, bash. Is this clear? This is what we will be doing it here. I hope this part is clear, all of you. Yeah? So that is sure that this is the flavor of shell scripting. I'm using it and I'm writing the script. Now let's do escape colon WQ. So I have a parent file. Parent file is called as f1.sh. Now I'll create a child file with the name vi child underscore f1.sh. And now in the child file is where I will write this code. What code? I will just copy this now and I will paste this. Okay, you understand this and tell me, is this clear? Yeah. Accessing environment variable from child script. Okay, accessing local variable. But who is going to call this file? Okay, who's going to, this hash here is now commenting it. Okay, so colon WQ. Now when I run a parent file, because at the end of the parent file there is dot slash child underscore f1.sh, that parent file will automatically call the child file. There is nothing we need to do it. But now the question is, the environment variable, is it accessible in the child? Is local variable accessible in the child? We need to understand that. So when I now run sh f1.sh, you see that permissions denied. So this is not in executable mode. So let's do ch mode plus x, and the file name is child underscore f1.sh. Okay, it's not in executable mode because programmatically, if you want to run your file, the file should have execute permission. If I now do ls-l, you see that I have just given the executable permission to this, because this file I'm programmatically going to run. Any file that programmatically you need to run should be having executable permission. That's why I got what? The error, permissions denied. Now let's go here. sh, see that? What's happening? Can you see that here? This I am local variable, I am environment variable, same file. Now accessing environment variable from child script, that's not coming. Neither this is coming. Why? Because there is one extra step we have to do here. Something I have missed it here. Right? It should have print trying to access environment variable. Accessing environment variable from child script. This output is not getting printed here. Let's see this here. Okay, I'll firstly go here and let's do one thing. Let me just quickly see that the example that I'm talking about here now. I'm taking this particular example, paste this here. Okay, paste this here. Let me delete this firstly. Hold on. I would have done some mistake. Insert mode. Okay, let's see this here, paste it. So let's copy the file content. Let's paste it here. Okay, now once this has been pasted, let's change this to child f1 dot, okay, f1 dot sh. Check this out. We have created a local variable. We are creating an environment variable. We are creating this, printing these variables and doing that. That is what our code was all about. I think I should have used sh f1 dot. Yeah, somewhere some mistake I would have done it. I wouldn't have used some dollar or something I would have missed it. I did not see that. But see this here now. This is our local variable, right? Printing in same file. Environment variable printing in same file. But this output is coming from the child file only for the environment variable. But for a local variable, the data is not coming to the child process. Which means, what do you understand by this? Whenever you want to make a variable an environment variable, let's quickly see this here. We will go to vi, okay, this file. Whenever you want to make, okay, the child class that I'm talking about now, in the child class, whenever you want to access the content of the parent process, it has to be an environment variable. To create an environment variable, we use the reserved keyword in shell script called as export. Export and then the variable name. Okay. But if your variable is local, it is not being accessible in the child script. Is this point clear now? Everybody got this point? Yes. Online students, online students, are you clear with this? Please tell me. Right? Are you clear with this part? Please tell me. Yes. Okay. So read this out now. What I have given here. The local variables can be accessed in same script file. Environment variables. Okay. Now to make the variables environment, we use export command. Okay. Or export reserved keyword. Now what this export command does, whatever the variables are created in the parent process, it will just make that variable accessible in the child process. So how did we create a parent and child processes? At the end of the file, just write dot slash another script file name. So the parent file will automatically run the child script, and that will become a child process, and this will become the parent process. I hope this part is clear for all of you. Now we are going to look at one more thing, is how do we, okay, uh, create a environment variables such that those environment variables are accessible across the sessions. This environment variable I'm accessing between parent and child process. But now I want to create an environment variable such that that environment variable can be accessed across the session. How do we do it? So for that, we guys are here going to look at ls-la. LA is for what? Hidden files. Now there is a hidden file called as .bash rc. .bash rc is created per user. Every user will have one .bash rc file. Okay. Now if you create an environment variable in the .bash rc file, that environment variable is accessible across the session. Meaning the key value pair I will take and connect. You take another key value pair and connect. Both the sessions, you will see that that environment variable is accessible. Let's try this out here. Vi, and let's open this file .bash rc. Okay. So now let me open this file, go to the insert mode, and let's go all the way down. Okay. All the way down. Yep. And now I'll create two variables. How many variables I'll create? Two variables. The first variable I'll create it as max underscore value 100. Is it a local variable or is it an environment variable? Huh? Sure. Sir, how did you know this is a local variable? Because I'm not using export keyword. Okay, so let's do one thing now. Let's write export and let's type min underscore value is equal to 10. Is it a local variable or environment variable? So what is the one advantage of environment variable? The child process can access the variable that was being created in the parent process. Okay. Now escape colon wq. I've edited a .bash rc file. But after that, you need to write source .bash rc. Okay. Ensure that you do this now. And now let me directly access the variable here. Echo dollar min underscore value. Correct? What is it printing? 10. Echo dollar max underscore value. What is it printing? 100. Now I will do one thing. I'll go back here to the key value pair and let's do one small experimentation here. Let's again go to the git bash. Now I'm opening up a new window of git bash and I am connecting it to it again. Right? What happened is no such file exist. DevOps 01. Hold on. Okay. So it's underscore 01. So let me copy this. Let's go here open git bash. The file name, the key value pair file name was wrong. So I picked up the right one. And let me see this here. I've got connected now. Got it? Now let's do one thing. Let's do echo dollar min underscore value. What is it printing? 10. Echo dollar max underscore value. What will it print? Okay. Are you understanding now? The variables that is being put basically in your .bash rc file will become permanent variables out here. Are you understanding now? You can access that directly because you want these values to be used everywhere. Like where, like paths, certain paths of the file. You want to preserve it in centralized place so that you can access that from wherever you want to. So this is another file where we can create the variables. Is this clear, everyone? Is this part clear, online students? Did you all understand this now? Yes, no. Online students, did you all understand this part? What are we talking about? So bash rc file, once you create a variable in that, you can store the value and that can be accessed basically from everywhere. Okay, let's continue further. Okay, so we have just understood now, okay, how we can create the variable. So what are the three variables we have understood now? Local variable, environment variable, huh, right? Environment variable, and then what? We have read only variables that has been created by us. Now let's do one thing now. The next thing, okay, what we people are going to work on is how do we read the inputs. Correct? If you want to read an input in Java, we have a scanner class. For some people who don't know scanner classes, definitely we will talk about that later. Fine. Now, we people are going to look at basically how to read an input here. So for that, I'll create another file, f2.sh. And here, let's create one variable. So let's create a variable name is equal to mic. Okay. The second thing, what I'm going to do is now, I'm going to use here read, read name. Now, whatever basically, sorry, I will here firstly use an echo. Echo, enter your name. Enter your name. Okay. Now, whatever name you're entering now, this, okay, command read is capable of reading the inputs, whatever I'm typing it on my keyboard. If I type mic, it will read mic and it will store that into the variable name. Now I want to print this. So echo, I'm going to use here dollar name. And if you want to mention like this, your name is, just give a space, colon WQ. So let's try this now. Okay, let's try this now. shf2.sh. Enter your name, Mike. So when I type Mike, the read keyword is reading Mike, putting that into the variable name, and it prints your name is Mike. You notice I have not used any concatenation operators here. There is no plus operators that I've used it here like Java. So further, we can add more data. Now let's say you want to add more data to it, you can keep doing it. Okay, you can keep doing it. Insert, and then you can add here. What is that? Echo, enter your marks. Fine, enter your marks. So how do we read that? Read into the variable marks. Now I want to print here echo, echo your name is dollar name, right? And can I write here and your marks is dollar what? Marks. Can I do this? Yeah, will this work? Yes, no. So let's type the name Mike. Your name is Mike. Enter your marks 100. You see that? Your name is Mike and your marks is 100. Okay. Now, for some basic execution, sometimes you just want to see whether the script, how is it working, what it is. You need not always write these things in your script files. You can also basically create a variable here. Like if I type name is equal to Stalin, right? I'm directly creating your variables directly in the git bash. And now I will print echo dollar dollar name. See, got it? If I now use your export, let's say, I will call this variable as val 10. So this will become environment variable. How do we print this? Echo dollar val. Okay. So some basic processing, if you want to do it quickly, could be some uh, manipulations or some formulas you're putting out there, some operations you're doing out there. You can directly execute it here and you can check that rather than creating the files. I hope this part is clear for all of you. So the concepts here is very simple and less. You don't have a lot of concepts here. Further, we will quickly start with what are functions here, how functions are created, what are conditional statements, correct? So syllabus is going to be not very huge here. Syllabus is going to be less. But I hope today's class is clear for all of you. Yes, did you understand? Okay. So we'll meet up again the next class. Okay. That is tomorrow. And from here, we'll continue further. See, till here, you will basically have, okay, some notes and all you will ask me. Once I start with AWS services, you will automatically see that, okay, whatever I'm explaining, keep that in your mind. Start putting some pointers, okay? Steps are there, how to create the services, and that's how we will be understanding it, okay?